Senzo Meyiwa, star footballer, was gunned down at his girlfriend's family home in October 2014. It's taken a very long time for this matter to come to court. Now, news today is that apparently Meyiwa was already dead even before he was taken to hospital. This coming from the defence team. They are adamant that there is a police cover-up. eNCA Slindelo Masikane has been following the latest developments in court, and she joins me now. So, Slee, the defence sort of getting into the heart of their argument, I suppose. Talk to me about what came out in court today.
So do you remember, Sally, yesterday I mentioned to you that the Senzo Meyiwa docket, in terms of police investigations, there were two dockets that were being investigated, and the one that we're seeing playing out in court today is the 636 docket. This is where we're seeing the 5 men who are accused of his murder under trial. What the defence is now alluding to is the 375 docket. It was a draft document where we saw that the people inside the house were actually the ones who were suggested to be charged with murder as well as defeating the ends of justice. This is the docket that the defence is now using in the defence of their clients, that's accused 1 to 4, to say that they're being used as scapegoats and that in fact nobody entered the house that evening, and that those who should be charged are the ones who are in the house. Let's take a listen.
What is being said under 375 is that there were people in that house on that day. The owner of the house and family and some visitors, including our beloved son of the soil, Senzo Meyiwa, and saying the killer in the murder weapon was in the house. Nobody entered there and killed Senzo. Whoever killed Senzo is in the house, or was in the house.
This is fascinating, Slee, because this, from what I can recall, relates to the fact that there were 2 separate police probes into what actually happened. And there were 2 different lines of investigation. One along the lines, as outlined by the defence, but ultimately the arrest of these 5 men in connection with the killing of Senzo Meyiwa, suggesting an outside hit of some form. Am I right in my understanding that he's sort of speaking about a line of investigation that was part of the police probe? And then tell us how that relates to the treatment of Meyiwa's body.
So the defence is adamant, and you are correct to say that there were 2 different probes, there were 2 different teams investigating this one murder, and we have 2 dockets that are basically alleging 2 different suspects or 2 different set of suspects in relation to this matter. Now we're seeing that the 636 docket against the 5 men accused is the one that has been pursued by the NPA. This means that they believe that there is a case that these men should be answering to, as opposed to the 375 docket that alleges that Kelu Komalo as well as the others in the house should be the ones charged with this murder. Now, how this relates to the treatment, or should I say the crime scene itself, you'd remember that the defence have been adamant throughout the start of the trial that they believe that the crime scene was contaminated. There are a few issues around the handling of the evidence, but mostly in connection with Meyiwa's body. They are putting it to the court that Senzo Meyiwa actually died at the scene, and that those in the house that took him to the hospital, it wasn't to save his life, but to quote Malisa Latefo, it was to actually dump his body at the hospital mortuary, as well as, of course, compromise the crime scene. Let's take a listen.
Was the life of Senzo Meyiwa saved by the people who removed him from the scene? Primary scene.
No, I won't be able to answer that, my lord. I was not there.
You don't know.
Angeke ngikhoneke noma ngikwazi ukuphendula lokho ngithi bakwazi noma bakhona yini ukuthi bayihlenga impilo yakhe ngoba ngangekho lapho.
It's reasonable you don't know, you are not the eyewitness. Yes, I accept that. We will call the witness and will testify, say, I become emotional, Senzo Meyiwa died at the scene. 13511 Kutana Street. What you say, they took him to hospital to save his life. Actually, they were going to dump him at the hospital mortuary.
All right, so Slee, you're going to have to talk really slowly to me here because I'm trying to understand what the defense lawyer is getting at. First of all, is it clear where exactly Senzo Meyiwa died, or is it not known? And secondly, it seems that he's taking this alternative investigation that was eventually left and putting it to the first witness, who's the police forensic investigator, Thabo Mosia, who is still on the stand. Explain.
Okay, so to simplify it for you, Sally, what we're seeing play out is the defense laying out what they believe, of course, is the fact that there is a cover-up in terms of the 5 men accused of the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. Now, they've put it to Sergeant Thabo Mosia, who was the forensic investigator, to say whatever it is that you collected at the scene was actually all staged. And they're saying this because the time lapse in which Mosia arrived at the scene and was called to the scene was about 4 hours from the time that Meyiwa was shot dead. And they're saying in that 4-hour time frame, much took place in terms of trying to cover up what actually happened at the crime scene. And they're also accusing Mosia of trying to cover up a lot of the blunders made by the police in their investigations. And they're saying that he's an unreliable witness and that, in fact, the court should not trust anything that comes out of his mouth because in terms of the affidavit that they submitted as the defense, which was deposed by Mosia back in 2019, in connection with the 375 docket, that's the alternative docket, Mosia actually concedes and says that because there was such a huge time lapse between him actually arriving at the scene and being called, that the scene actually may have been compromised. This he conceded to as well today. But let's take a listen to Defo, who has now basically labeled Mosia as an unreliable witness.
I can put it to you that, yeah, you are doing your utmost best to be evasive and protect the whole what is the best way, Your Lordship? I want to say the fucked up situation. Don't know if I will be correct. You are trying to want to cover the blunders that happened caused by the police at the primary scene that you call. You become evasive for that purpose that you are trying to cover. And in your answers, I can sense that there is a clear admission that, yes, the scene at 13511 Kutano Street was indeed contaminated. And that is supported by paragraph 10 of your statement, where you say the scene was compromised. And you are right, the scene was compromised. You just don't want to accept.
According to my statement, my Lord, I said the scene might have been compromised, my Lord.
Scene might have been compromised. All right, so of course, tomorrow, does the case continue, and is it the turn of the defense lawyer for the fifth accused?
Yes, tomorrow the trial does continue. Sally, cross-examination does continue. We understand that Advocate Defo has about 10 minutes left in terms of what he wants to wrap up with Mosia. Then we will see the start of cross-examination in terms of Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who represents accused number 5.
Well, thank you so much, Slindelo Masikane, for that wrapping up of a very big day at the Senzo Meyiwa trial. More to come tomorrow.